Hello everybody, I'm Suraj Chhetri, I'm an optometrist. Today I'm going to talk about Pinhole, a clinical orientation, and how Pinhole works and what are the clinical applications of Pinhole. First of all, let's begin with the blur circle. As we know that Pinhole reduces blur circle and it do not work on the basis of Stiles-Crawford effect and all the things, because all this many students I have made, they confuse it with the Stiles-Crawford effect. It's Pinhole basically works, but it doesn't work on the basis of Stiles-Crawford 1 or Stiles-Crawford 2. These are different things, and it works on the basis use of paraxial rays, and which is written in clearly in low vision essentials of low vision book. So how it works is, let's understand blur circle, then we will talk how it reduces blur circle. And basically Pinhole, what does Pinhole is reduces the blur circle, and that's why our visual acuity becomes better. The first of all, let's see these pictures. And when the object clearly focuses on the image retina, then the retinal blur circle of the object location in case of y is point. And when the object creates and focuses before the retina, then blur circle is here, which is large. And when object defocus here, not focus at the retina, in case of hyperopic case, this is myopic case, and this is emmetropic case, then blood circle is less. In case of hyperopia and myopia, the amount of refractive error corresponds with the size of blood circle. So in this slide I can show you that how blood circle changes with this amount of refractive error. So clearly when parallel light comes, this is myopic condition but less refractive error. As we know, the focus is towards the retina, but in second case obviously the myopic error is high. So the blur circle, retinal blur circle, is goes larger in case of second one, where the myopia is higher, and in case of first myopia is lower, the retinal blur circle size is less than the second one, less than this lower one. So it's important to understand how blood circle changes. If refractive error is high, then blood circle is also high, so size is also high and larger. And if blood circle is uh, lower, in case of the less refractive error. So let's come to the Pinhole effect and what Pinhole does. So larger pupil and a smaller pupil, which is basically when we put the Pinhole in front of eye, it acts as a pseudo pupil. So a smaller pupil, in case of a smaller pupil, the peripheral rays cut off by the pupil, cut off by the iris, and in case of Pinhole, cut off by the dark side of the Pinhole, and the smaller and central paraxial rays goes to the eye. And we can see the large people retinal blur cycle is large, and in a small people retinal blur cycle is small. So in case of a small people, central rays goes, and it creates a smaller retinal blur circle. When many people confuse it with the smaller pinhole refract, pinhole doesn't refract. The image formed by pinhole is due to the blur minimization and not due to the convergence of light. Pinhole do not converge, do not changes the vergence of light. It only cut off peripheral rays and pass central rays. And as we know, central rays bend less, and the central rays forms smaller retinal circle. That's why resolution goes high. But the most important theoretical part we have to discuss and we have to understand is the balance between diffraction and the blur circle reduction. So when we put pinhole in front of eye, it not only reduces the blur circle size but also increases diffraction, and that's why we have to find a sweet spot between diffraction and the blur circle, because blur circle reduction increases the resolution and visual acuity. At the same time, it also creates diffraction, which decreases the visual acuity and decreases the image quality. So it's crucial to understand the balance between the diffraction and reduction of blur circle is Pinhole. Pinhole is not the magical thing. It works. It is perfect. It's not imperfect, because Pinhole does not provide perfect image because of diffraction. So we always tend to choose pinhole size ideal is 1.4 mm, approx 1.4 mm. There is different concept, but we never go clinically below below 1 mm, because below 1 mm there is huge diffraction and reduction of quality of image. So diffraction is very important. When you move less than 2 mm, clinically there is presence of diffraction, but at the same time we found 1.4, around 1.4 mm is suitable spot, which is sweet spot. That's why we use clinical pinhole in case of ophthalmology, around 1.4, around 1.4, not never 1 or below 1, which is bad thing, because 1 or below 1 will definitely clear a lot of diffraction and reduction of quality of image in our retina. So students, just understand, pinhole is not just reduction of blur circle, it's a balance between the diffraction and the blur circle. We cannot throw diffraction out of the window. It's a really important thing to understand, and a lot of the students always fail to understand. So so pinhole is very important to understand, because of the clinical uses in case of ophthalmology. The first clinical use is, obviously we differentiate refractive error from the pathological error. Let's take example of 20/40 visual acuity, and pinhole we put pinhole here. If her visual acuity improves by 20/20, then there is a chance of huge chance of refractive error. If vision doesn't improve or even worsen, then we think it may be the cause of retinal diseases, or maybe cataract, or other things, or maybe amblyopia. So these are the things we should understand. The very first clinical use, and every clinic uses pinhole because of this reason. The first and primary and huge use in case of ophthalmology. But second, also there is second use of pinhole that many fewer people know, to differentiate monocular diplopia. See, binocular diplopia, we cover one eye and diplopia goes. This is binocular diplopia. But if monocular diplopia present, monocular diplopia present, then we put pinhole and see if monocular diplopia presents, then it may be the cortical diplopia, which is lies away from retina, would visual cortex. If we put pinhole in case of monocular diplopia, then diplopia goes away, or negative, then it is a kind of ophthalmic, not ocular, or just ophthalmic eyeball. Either is retinal membrane, or whether it is subluxation of lens, or whether it is uh, corneal opacity, and all these things. So this is second use, which a lot of students don't know, that this is the use of pinhole. And the third use, in case of binocular vision, uh, you guys should study more. But when you put pinhole before eye, it always increases the depth of focus, and with increase of depth of focus, uh, there is less chance of change of accommodation when eye converges or diverges, because there is less change in depth of focus. But at the same time, there is a lot of things you have to go through. But at least you understand pinhole. When you put pinhole, there is increase in depth of focus, which also help uh, patient, which also help us to understand that if we get patient 60 years old and with small pupil, then there is also Pinhole effect, and which create the decrease in near ad, and he is reading very well with less power, which all the things correlates with depth of focus and the pinhole. This third clinical correlation is so important, that pinhole is directly related with depth of focus, and it enhances the depth of focus. So pinhole also used in case of binocular vision. That you have to read. I forgot at this time how and where in particular case where pinhole is used in binocular vision. But try to understand first clinical orientation, which is obviously every clinician knows, and it's simple, that it differentiate refractive error with maybe retinal disease or ophthalmic pathology or amblyopia. And second important use of pinhole is monocular diplopia, that is differentiate monocular diplopia. And third important clinical correlation with pinhole is when you put the pinhole, it increases the depth of focus. So with we can correlate with older patient with Snellen's okay, which we can say with older people, meiosis happens uh, because of all the old snail changes, and which gives us the depth, more depth of focus, and which eventually correlated with pinhole. So this is it, and I highly recommend Michael P. Keating's Geometric Physical and Visual Optics and Geometrical and Visual Optics by Stephen S. Suraj. These are my two references, and I pick images from this book. So thank you so much. We will meet in the next video.